Hello everyone, greetings from Bangladesh Plastic Goods Manufacturers and Exporters Association and Chanchao, our partner. I am Shamim Ahmed, President BPGMEA. We are here on sideline meeting of IPF online fair starting from 5th July to 8th July 2021. IPF is one of the important mega exhibition take place in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Due to COVID pandemic, we are organizing this fair online. As you know, Bangladesh is with 7% GDP growth and plastic sector is growing at 20% per annum basis. Bangladesh plastic sector has enormous possibilities for investment and also the market here. Today we are here to discuss the plastic industry status, prospects, challenges presented by our keynote paper presented by our distinguished panelists, and we also discuss and place their comments and remarks. Now I introduce our distinguished panelist. Keynote speaker, our today's keynote speaker is Ferdaus Begum, CEO, BUILD Build. Ferdaus has long experience in private sector policy advocacy since long time. She always take initiative for plastic sector advocacy for green fund, environment and circular economy. Today we have with us also Honorable President FBCCI, Mr. Jashim Uddin. Mr. Jashim Uddin is Vice Chairman of the Bengal Group of Industries with his investment in plastic, textile, insurance, food processing and many more. He is also the Chairman of Bengal Commercial Bank. We have with us Mr. Masud Siddiqui, former Secretary, Ministry of Industries, Government of Bangladesh. Presently, he is holding important position in different organizations. He was always keen to support plastic sector development during his terms as position in the ministry. He has many publications also. We have with us Mr. Mafizur Rahman, former Additional Secretary, now Managing Director of the SME Foundation, playing key role for the SME development of Bangladesh. Now may I request Ferdaus Begum to start his keynote presentation for today.
Thank you, President, Bangladesh Plastic Goods Manufacturers and Exporters Association, BPGMEA. And thanks to the panelists and the distinguished association members, business entrepreneurs. And just a few moments ago, we have had a discussion, fruitful discussion with the Honorable Minister, who has just launched the IPF 2021. Good afternoon, and welcome you all to the presentation on plastic industry status, export prospects and challenges. I would be trying my best to be as brief as possible and trying to focus the basic and the most important priority issues on the sector. I believe all of you are aware about it, but let me just refresh your mind, and also we would like to suggest some of the policy provisions so that the sectors can be moved and advanced further to face the challenges of the 2026 while we are going to be graduated from LDC to a developing country. The presentation starts with the status of the plastic industry of Bangladesh. I believe all of you are aware about the status. There are more than 5,000 industry, majorly SMEs, and a significant number of jobs have been created by this sector. Total export is more than 1 billion in the year 2019-20, and it has exceeds more than 1.2 billion or something like that in the year 2020-21. It has got a huge domestic size, about 3 billion, nearing about 3 billion, and it is growing. And the total export, there are about 300 direct exporters and around 50 direct and deemed exporters in the country, and the numbers are also growing. And the location of industries are mostly within Dhaka, and there are some other industries in Chittagong and some other nearby areas like Narayanganj, Khulna, Kumilla, and some other, Bogra and Rajshahi, and some other places. And leading brands, among the leading brands, one of the, I think, brand makers is present with us. He is the president of FBCCI. Bengal Plastic is his organization. There are some other reputed and local brands. These are KDS, DAE, RFL, Talukdar, Unique, and Anwar. And the sector is valuating, the valuation of this sector is about 31 to 70%. Sometimes the valuation, I think, increases further. Next. Actually, plastic sector encompasses a number of areas. I think it has started with retail packaging, industrial and bulk packaging, and some other areas. Even in the electronic sectors, there are use of plastics. And we have tried to show you some of the, I think, relevant stakeholders who are engaged in the plastic sector. They are suppliers, manufacturers, consumers, and recyclers. And there is a huge, I think, backward and forward linkage potentials in this sector, a significantly labor-intensive sector, and creating a number of employment, which is one of the, I think, thrust. And as in the launching ceremony, our Honorable Minister, Commerce Minister has also mentioned that in the budget, there is a huge target for creating employment. And the sector is capable enough to create more employment in this sector. And another very important aspect is SDGs 12, that is ensure sustainable consumption and production. As we are telling it right now, because the thing is that our industries should be, I think, produce their products in such a way so that it can ensure sustainable development and production. So we need to take care of the SDG 12 also. Next. Now we can see about the export performance of the sector. What we have found is that there are some specific products, some new products are also coming up. These are packaging bags, households and toilets, tableware, and the plastic waste also. And some other products are coming up. These are, I can tell about it, the toys, tents, and some other non-traditional products are coming up. And for the RMG sector, deemed export is playing a significant role, and more than 80% of the deemed exports supplied to the RMG sector. These are plastic hangers, buttons, clips, collar chips, packaging materials, and some other issues. And now also Bangladesh is going forward, say PVC, producing PVC bags, plastic waste, and recently export of this sector, some of the sectors are showing some declining impact because of the COVID issues, and some of the external policies, say in case of banning of waste import by China and India. And I think, as you can see, that the segment that is the export of others, the export in this sector is increasing significantly. So it includes a number of non-traditional sectors, tents, toys, and some other sectors are included in this area. Next. Now we would like to see a bit about the share of the world export, the plastic exports in the world export. What is its share? What we have found is that China is dominating, and total export in the year 2019, and the global export in the year 2019 is about 621 billion, and it is, I think, nearing to about $1 trillion US. And 25 countries exports about 87% of the total plastic exports, and rest 201 countries are contributing for the next 3%. So you know that we have seen that the share of the global export has been, I think, captured by some very important countries. Those countries, among those countries, China and USA is dominating. Bangladesh export, direct export, Bangladesh position is 86th position. It is, I think, 0.06% of the total share. But if we consider deemed export together, then the share of Bangladesh to the total export stands at 65 position in the year 2019-20. So now the situation of COVID, we are all aware about the COVID situation, and it has also significant impact in the plastic sector. We have had some discussion with the BPGMEA people recently, just a few days ago. What we have found is that BPGMEA has found that about 60 million in the first wave, only in the first wave, about 60 million of the direct export will be suffered or has already been suffered. And about 300 million US dollar for RMG, because as the sector is very much related with the export of the ready-made garment sector. So while the ready-made garment sectors has been hampered, the sector also hampered. So considering these issues, about 300 million US dollar of RMGs and the linkages as deemed export will suffer. As of 2020, we have seen that 100 million export order has been cancelled, and around 22 plastic items are serving as a backward linkage industry for the RMG sector. So you understand that the COVID has a significant impact on this sector. And mostly it has impacted the SMEs, about 800 to 900 SMEs who are situated in the old Dhaka area. They have been suffered. And in that respect, definitely because of the pandemic, the sector needs assistance. But there are some new opportunities also. As you have heard already, that medical protective equipments, products and equipment, pharmaceutical products and equipments, MPPE, face mask, face shield, goggles, pharmaceuticals, etc., has got tremendous opportunities. And some of the, I think, plastic producers has already grabbed this opportunity, and some are trying. Next. What we would like to see, that impact of COVID on other industrial sector, I would like to be very quick in that respect. What we have found is that in the Q4 of 2020, as you have seen from the graph, is that the in total industrial product declined about 14.98%. That is about 16% total industry. And we have seen a heat map analysis by Bangladesh Bank. What we have found is that same figure has arrived, and in Q4 of 2020, it declined to 16%, and in case of plastic, the decline is about 14%. So the red color that you have seen is that this is the symbol of significant reduction or decline in this sector. Next. Impact of COVID on export of plastic. Similar impact we have seen that in the year 1920, it was a bit better, but it has reduced. It has reduced in the 2029, that is July-March situation. But again, it is I think going up a bit. So it is I think trying to I think recover a bit after the COVID situation, I think in the year 2020, but you have seen that now the second wave, we are facing second wave, and definitely in the third wave, there might be some other disruption in this sector. Next. Now the vision, and by this time, I would just like to highlight some of the issues here, is that the Ministry of Industries has prepared an Industrial Development Policy 2021, and they have taken a continuous 15% growth target for this sector by the year 2030. And what they have taken as a target is that $10 billion market for plastic and packaging industries by 2026, and by 2030 it would be around 20 billion. This is the target, and for this target, what type of activities they would like to take, that is I think some supports, policy supports, that has already been explained in the policy. And interestingly, what we are discussing a few moments ago in the morning is that the per capita plastic use in our country is the lowest. It is about 5 to 7 kg only, while in USA it is much higher, in China it is much higher. So if we would like to go to the average of the world, that is the 50 kg, then I believe that we would need to go for and we would like to steer the use of plastic towards a sustainable circular economy. Next. And there are some policy measures, as I have already mentioned, that in order to reach the target of the industrial plastic industrial policy by Ministry of Industries. There are some targets, policy measures they have taken. It is integrate and formalize informal plastic sector by giving some by extending some support to them. Plastic industrial park, enhance skill development and testing and training support, and also strengthening the quality infrastructure, and finally for leading towards a new global plastic economy by 2030, the industry should be developed as a one-stop solution linking circular economy. Again, this has also been given thrust in the plastic industrial policy 2021, which is going to be finalized soon. Next. Then the Ministry of Commerce has also prepared a vision roadmap, and in this roadmap they have projected that by 2024 there will be around 2 billion export, and additional employment will be created more about 2 lakhs. And for achieving this, I think, roadmap strategy or roadmap vision, there are some primary policy objectives and some secondary objectives also they have taken. Next. Now, the institutional framework that how these strategy or roadmap targets will be achieved, and they have established, they are going to establish a program implementation unit or PMU in the Ministry of Commerce, and there are some indicative structure of communication. About 6 ministries will be engaged and involved for these issues, and there are some other areas that they are going to undertake, and they have also taken some action plan. I do not like to go details in that respect. Let me just go to the next slide, where Ministry of Commerce has given the task to build for revisiting the roadmap, and in this roadmap we have I think by adopting some methodology, we were trying to give a new target, and the target is that for the direct export by 2030, the export will be around 150 million, and taking the indirect export, that is the deemed export, the export will be 5.23 billion. So I believe that we would like to request the Ministry of Commerce to consider the deemed export also while taking the target. Next. I would like to show you some areas because while we were preparing or giving this target of 5.23 billion by 2030, we have seen that there are some non-traditional sector in the plastic sector are coming up. These are say tents of synthetic fiber, and it has got a significant share in the global market, and also toys, which are also coming up. So considering the deemed export and some non-traditional sector, I believe that the target that we have set could be achieved. Next. Now there are some challenges also in this sector. All of you are aware about it, but let me just tell some of these. Say import dependency, the major raw materials of the plastic sector are being imported, and financial hurdle is there, lack of modern machineries are there. 97% producers are non-branded and not well regulated, interrupting the value chain. So this is one of the, I think, most important challenges here. Limited global market, as just you have seen that our global market share and market access is not that much high at the moment. Unavailability of skilled labor, lack of credible testing and certification facilities, lack of plastic policy and plastic recycling policy. We are now going to have our plastic policy, but we also need a recycling policy. Oil price fall reduces demand of the oil and price of new plastic. So this is another external problem, I think international problem. Plastic and climate change issues, I believe these are one of the significant issues for which we need to think of it, and which I believe will be coming up in a very, very much bigger way. Now, as we are just thinking that climate change issues is one of the significant issues, and in that respect, plastic recycling and less GHG And then the virgin polymer production, we need to take up these issues. Bangladesh has been qualified as per UN criteria to be graduated as developing country by 2026, and government is revisiting the NDC. I think these are the issues, and Bangladesh, as the leader of the Climate Vulnerability Forum, endorsed the revised NDC. So these type of issues, I think we need to take care of it, and we need to go for prevention, preparing for reuse, recycling, and other recovery and disposals also. As just we were discussing, that disposal issues has to be taken care very carefully. Next, now we would like to go for some of the recommendations. Number one is financing and tariff incentives. I believe that government has announced a number of stimulus packages, and we from the sector, they would also like to request that banks should extend these I think stimulus package further. And for the bond, I think publicly listed plastic companies should allow to issue bond from the secondary market, and Bangladesh Bank should create a special fund for this creation of bond. Revenue loss, I think from the local sale is about 4,000 crore taka. Special concessional loan is needed, and installments may be deferred for 6 months. I think Bangladesh Bank is doing a much better services, but from the sectoral points of view, they think that these will help them further. And the salary of the workers, if as like the ready-made garment sector, if some support can be expanded for this sector, could be helpful for them. 10% incentives, if can be allowed, could be helpful. Concessional finance for the plastic sector and credit guarantee scheme. As you have heard, that Bangladesh Bank has launched a credit guarantee scheme, but the amount of this credit guarantee scheme is not that much high. So I think mobile financing, credit guarantee scheme, and so on could be extended for this sector. Tax policy for the sector should be as equal as the ready-made garment sector. Just now we were discussing these issues. Tax holidays for 10 years should be extended for this sector. Next. And policy and planning, I believe BPGMEA can set a new target of 4 to 5 billion US dollar by 2030, and this target will be as equal as the bill's target. And automation in this sector, growing demand for toys, pharmaceuticals, and MPP could be one of the ways to achieve this target. Formal and informal would need to be integrated. The export roadmap strategy should be included. The COVID recovery issues should be included in the export roadmap. Industrial parks has to be established. A database for the public sector, plastic sector, and the coordination among the all sectoral players to support policy support, to extend policy support for this sector, so would be very helpful. And the environment management system and BPET should collaborate with some research organization as like as BUILD could be helpful. And finally, the plastic waste management policy and EPR policy, which are in the process, would need to be formulated, aligning with the interest and need of the plastic sector. Next. Bond license facilities. I would like to put some emphasis on these issues, because as we have seen that the most of these small, as in the presentation at the initial stage we have mentioned that most of the plastic sector entrepreneurs are very small scale entrepreneurs, and they cannot afford the bonded warehouse facilities. So in that respect, a central bonded warehouse can be think for them, but the problem can be arises that whether these central bonded warehouse will be in the public sector or in the private sector. If it is in the public sector, then there can be some domination can be arisen, and in that respect the suggestions from the sectoral players is that small organizations that are not 100% export oriented industry should be able to avail the bonded warehouse facilities from the central bonded warehouse. Stock of raw materials should be bought when the global price falls, so that they cannot buy the raw materials from the centrally bonded warehouse at a higher prices. And a price ceiling, if can be given by the government, so that they cannot charge higher prices. And bonded warehouse facilities to companies manufacturing capital machineries, mold and dies could be extended. Next, Taishish. Next, quality and related infrastructure. I think I have already touched upon. The whole supply chain could be, I think, integrated with the connectivity and the quality related issues should be adjusted and integrated. Environment, social and quality standard ESQ facilities I think should be prioritized. Development of effective sector in parallel to support plastic sector, especially toy industries. And finally, I would like to just recall that Ministry of Industries should take necessary steps to relocate plastic recycling factories from old Dhaka, old part of Dhaka city to the new area, that is the new industrial park outside the Dhaka. And the last but not the least is that Ministry of Energy should extend 12 hours electricity, sufficient electricity supply for this sector so that any disruption do not happen in this sector. So with this, I would like to thank you all once again for patient hearing and allowing me to present this presentation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, our keynote speaker. You have extensively covered all the subjects, all the areas, like you made the climate change effect. You also mentioned the circular economy. You also mentioned the export target of the deemed and the direct. You mentioned about the industrial policy. You mentioned about the pandemic situation of the plastic sector that take place. You mentioned about the global market size of the plastic, and you covered domestic and the international market arena. Thank you so much. It's an excellent presentation. Now may I request our distinguished panelist, Mr. Mafizur Rahman, Managing Director, SME Foundation, to have few words and comments on the presentation.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank from the core of my heart Ferdaus Begum for her very, very nice presentation. Actually, I think that I have nothing she left for me to discuss for the discussion, because the coverage of the whole plastic sector she has done very efficiently. Even then, actually, I would like to mention one point. What she mentioned, that the altogether more or less 5,000 entities, plastic entities in Bangladesh, and out of which almost 90% is in the SMEs. I think more than 90% the SMEs. So actually, is what kind of support the SME sector was supposed to get from the policymakers, from the government? Unfortunately, it was not actually well addressed by either by the policymakers or by the government. That's true. Our honorable president, some times ago, it was we are discussing that nobody is talking about the smalls. So these are the SMEs actually always left over from the discussion, from the supports, from the policies. So plastic sector actually is not out of that. If we look into the facts and figures that we have seen, that we are actually value chain. You just think on it, how much actually value is addition in this plastic sector. She mentioned that it is 31% to 70%. I thought that in case of recycling, it would be roughly 100%, roughly, very close to 100%, because the things which is left over to the dustbin that was collected and recycled, in that case, value chain is very close to 100%. In that case, what sorts of support they supposed to get it? But we must consider that these SMEs, particularly the plastic sector, should have a very high priority. Why? In terms of, you see, the plastics, we always talk about it is the one kind of environmental creation, some kind of negative connotation of the plastics. But if we collect and recycle it, that means we are both around helping the economy, creating the employment, as well as we are contributing in the GDP. What it was mentioned by our Ferdaus that our target in the next industrial policy going to be set by this year is the GDP target of the plastic sector should be 2%. I understand that it should be even more, but for ensuring this 2% GDP by 2026 or by 2030, it much more. In that case, the policy support, financial support, whatever we call that either in a stimulus package during the pandemic situation should have more priority of the government. And actually my one specific recommendation, what it was during the COVID situation, we have seen that 20,000 crore taka was allotted for the stimulus package, but we don't know how much actually SMEs has got, and also it was not segregated that how this 20,000 will be distributed among all different sectors. It was my suggestion that always it should be mentioned in the policy or where the package is declared, okay, out of this 20,000, this sector will get this person, this sector will get this person. Then the banks and other non-financial institutions would be actually, we can bound them that yes, you will have to distribute this amount of or this percentage of stimulus package to that particular sector. Probably in future we shall have to consider on that end. What actually, and also we have seen that, you know, that the use of plastics is day by day increasing. So definitely, even then we are lowest in terms of using 5 to 7 kilo per, where in USA and China more than 100 kg per person plastics. We are less than 7 kg. Even then, you see the lot of plastics actually we are throwing into the environment. So again, I am coming to that point, we should have a specific policy and support to the recycling, reuse. As maximum, if we can reuse and recycle, that will help positively increase our environmental sustainability that it was mentioned in the SDG 12. And as well as also we shall have to look into the decent work that it was mentioned SDG 8, because those who are collecting the speakers of the plastic or any other item from the dump or the wastage bin, we should also look into their health. Actually, what I mean to say, that the environmental issue as well as the sustainable issue of the health and livelihood of that, what we call the tokais, definitely we shall have to do something for either the plastic policy or in other policies, fiscal policies even. Because you see, those who are collecting this waste from the bins, really nobody is to look into them. So our policy should be direct focus on them, their health, their economic condition, and as well, because they are helping our economy, they are helping our environment to uplift, because they are collecting almost everything from the waste bins. And finally, what actually Madam said, that the deemed export, it is not considered. Actually, she was mentioning before the Commerce Minister, that the deemed export, the plastic that we are exporting within the garments or say any other items, there are many plastic items are over there that was exported under the name of the, say, RMG, but not that actually it is not going the export figure of the plastics. I think that should be also considered, and we should talk about it. And finally, I actually one point left that I must say, plastic policy, and Madam also mentioned that recycling policy, we should look into, we should must have a separate plastic recycling policy. Not actually plastic, I must say that any kind of wastage that was recycled should have either single policy or a separate policy, so that the policy maker, the whole sector will be benefited, our economy will be benefited, our people will be benefited. And finally, I must say that as most of the plastic industries are the SME sector, so SME Foundation also will have to especially look into this sector, because it has a very significant, I should say, the possibility of increasing the export that will help our economy in future. And I would like to thank again the organizer, and because we have seen that today, this morning, it was the Honorable Minister has inaugurated the online International Plastic Fair. I also expect the success of this fair, and also would like to see a successful plastic sector in future. Thank you, this sector people, BPGMEA, and also I would like to thank BPED, because they are doing very, very well to increase to actually uplift our economy, employment, and also the export. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mafizur Rahman, Managing Director, SME Foundation, for your valuable comments. You covered the recycling policy. You also mentioned that those young boys and children collecting from the garbage for the recycling purposes, and you need their health care. You also mentioned about the stimulus packages. We need to give more attention to the users of the stimulus packages. You also mentioned about the value addition by recycling is already increasing. So one thing I'd like to remind that in 1950 the plastic material production was 1.5 million tons. In 2020 it increased to 400 million tons. By 2050 the world expecting that plastic material production will be increased to 800 million tons. So the more the plastic will be produced, more the waste will be coming up. So we need to have a solution for that. So may I now request our former secretary, Mr. Masud Siddiqui, to have his comments on the keynote speaker's presentation.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my appreciation to Ferdaus Begum, CEO Build, for his excellent presentation. And truly it is an important presentation, and she knows what she's talking about. And we have with us today our visionary business leader, Bengal Plastic leader, and the president of FBCCI. We have with us Shamim Ahmed, president, BPGMEA. When my colleague Narayan Chandra requested me to come here, I was thinking about the plastic sector. And then I thought, when I was walking in the morning, the plastic is such an essential item to our life that when I see the children are playing in the field or in the houses, when I see they are like angels, and the plastic gives them that smile in their face. So from security to health, from technology to aviation, everywhere this is an essential item. And you have covered all the areas, so I will not go in detail of those areas. But from my experience, what I have witnessed in the Ministry of Industries, that this sector has a huge potential in the global market, because Turkey's population and demographic condition is not better than us, but they export $12 billion US, and by 30 they will export 18 billion. And you have linked this whole presentation with SDG, and SDG actually main thrust of the SDG is sustainable economic growth and full and productive employment and decent workplace. Secondly, it has 17 goals. In the goal 9, that sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. So I would request plastic leaders to consider about the new technology and innovation, because we have to compete with international players in this market. So innovation is one of the most essential part in making this sector more robust and competitive in future. I was talking about the potential of this sector. Just I give an example and story that earlier you have noticed that in the pharma industry, we used to bought all the raw materials from China and India. And that is to set change as the government is setting up an industrial park to make active pharmaceutical ingredients. And in my time, we have taken this project in Gujaria area, as you fully know. Similarly, government has taken a roadmap to help the plastic sector by having 310 acres of land in Shiraz-Dikani areas of, and 100 acre has been allocated for plastic industry. And our honorable chairman of FBCCI, I suppose because of this pandemic, because we are having this meeting in a very challenging time. And our president was supposed to visit that area to see himself the condition, the land, and other infrastructural development. Today I talked to my successor, industry secretary, and they are very much interested to support you and to give all the help. And he told that FBCCI president was supposed to visit the area because of pandemic, he could not go there. So Bangladesh is Asia's most exciting economy, we must remember. And if we remember the first budget of our country, I think it was 786 rupees only, crore rupees. And our budget now is more than 600,000 lakhs. So exciting. And we have exciting demographic stories also. With a population of 165 million, we think the country is on the pointed end where all the curves met of industrial revolution as income rises and technology plays an ever increasing role in the economy. So if you consider the whole Europe in terms of population, you see their market. And if you compare Bangladesh with the population and the consumption, Bangladesh is a big market. So plastic in future, and our president has already mentioned, the people, their income has risen, and the consumption, consumption pattern will also change. So in the change scenario, the plastic product, if we can maintain the technology edge and also the design and other things, I think Bangladesh has a huge consumption market. And we have, you see, in all the sector you go in Bangladesh, you visit, you can see the urbanization, the way the urbanization is taking place. And so smaller houses and more women of work, powerful consumption, that support high levels of growth. And that will happen in the plastic sector also. And in the Southeast Asia, we are to match only with Vietnam. And the Vietnam, the way they are moving, government is trying to catch them. And Bangladesh, you will see that it's in SDGs in many areas, Bangladesh is overpassing the neighboring countries. And in the industrial revolution, the plastic industry will definitely, one of the most tough sector which you have mentioned in the Commerce Ministry, from the Industry Ministry, that it will catch up in future. And other things you are talking about, the power, infrastructure, these are all actually general issues. It is related with all the industries actually. It's not specific to plastic sectors, governance and other issues. So the way Vietnam has made business and simplified their processes, the land issue. The land issue is the land-hungry country, Bangladesh, and government has allocated 310 acres of land. This is a huge incentive for the sector actually. And under the Ministry of Commerce, they have established a training institute, and from your association, my colleague Narayan Chandra was telling that you have established a training institute also to make, one of the challenges was coming that we need a skilled manpower regime. Without skilled manpower, no economy can grow. Actually, in the developed countries, the most factor for development is the skilled manpower. We can buy everything, machine, MiG-30, 39, everything you can buy. But to run all these things, you need skill and trained manpower. And I'm very happy to know that your association, Bangladesh Plastic Association, has established a very robust training institution that will foster the development of plastic industry in the country. And other indicators, governance indicators, Bangladesh scores high in accountability. Though we see many negative comments, but I would request, and our president knows that they talk about the failure of the banking sector. But if you consider the performance, the bad loans, it's only 8%. If you consider the whole economic sector, non-performing sector, but this is specific sector in agriculture, big industries, and garments only. It's not affecting the other sectors. And we have with my colleague, CEO of small and medium enterprises, they can play a very pivotal role in helping you. And I'm very hopeful that the potential of plastic sector is huge, enormous in Bangladesh. And if we consider the global concerns regarding climate change, biodegradable materials, and recycling, so green industry, if we consider all those concerns, I think Bangladesh can compete with the world leading economies in future. So thank you very much for having me to say something in a very challenging time. Because of COVID, everything, the livelihood and life, everything has been devastated. But Bangladesh is a resilient country, and it has shown from since our independence that Bangladesh can grow, prosper, and we are prospering. We are graduating from a low-income economy to developing countries, and this progress will continue under your able leadership. Only thing, just I will end my speech. I was actually listening yesterday, one of the visionary leader, business leader of the world, 21st century, best visionary leader in the United States of America, Steve Jobs. He gave a presentation in the Stanford University, commencement speech, where she told his story. He told that if you love something from your core of heart, you will succeed in life. So stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Masud Siddiqui, the former Secretary, Ministry of Industries, for your lovely comments. And you covered the SDG goals. I would like to remind the audience and the panelists that plastic sector play a very important role in SDGs because we provide food security for the food security purpose. Plastic has important role to play. For the sanitation, plastic has also important role to play. Plastic industry create a good working condition in the industry itself. So some of the SDG goal plastic industry is covering, and we are very hopeful that, as you mentioned, that the country will prosper, and we hope will be move forward because our goal is to achieve and our. So now may I request our Honorable President FBCCI to have his comments on the keynote presentation, and we hope he will give us an excellent situation because he is investors. He is a very good knowledge about the plastic sector of Bangladesh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to thanks to our keynote speaker, Ms. Husnaira Begum. I saw her presentation. Thank you.
Ferdaus.
Ferdaus. Thank you to cover almost everything I saw. So this is wonderful papers, I think, for plastic sector. And I'd like to thank Shamim Bhai, our president, Plastic Association president, and also our two speakers, Mr. Masud Siddiqui, our former secretary, and Mafizur, managing director of SME, and audience. Actually, the documentation which one she submitted, there is a three-part, I think. Starters of the sector, the export potential, and also the challenge. There is a three. I think starters we know already our position, and then there is a export potentials, then challenges. If it is a export potential is huge, because we saw there is a 601 billion 2019 figure, and we are exporting only
less than
1 billion. Even though we are exporting 1 billion, but recognition is only 130 million. So we already discussed with our minister. We need to work this thing, because I think we are talking already many years about these things. I think we need to really talk with our Commerce Ministry and Finance Bangladesh Bank to change this thing, because 130 and 1 billion is a huge big difference, and the people knows plastic sector only export is 100 million, 130 million, whereas we are exporting, and the export we are covering because you know the plastic is a item what Mr. Masud Siddiqui says, there is a from every corner we are working, because plastic industry is a backward linkage industry, is a forward linkage industry. They are working for daily life use product. Everything you see here is a 30, 40, 60% is a plastic product. So that means we cannot forgo the plastic thing. Then our engineering world, everything now is we are changing, we are replacing from metal to plastic, steel to plastic, and wood to plastic. So plastic is a huge potential, even in production of the areas of the product also. New areas we are working. So the export also we are doing many different deemed export. People are thinking we are deemed export only for garments. No, not only garments. We are giving even pharmaceutical export also. Their package is a plastic. The straps, the tablet straps also, this is a plastic. So like a aluminium, but it's not aluminium. This is a plastic. It's a coated plastic, the aluminium coated. So, and our construction material and the sanitation, everywhere there is a scope. So what we need for the exporters, export is if you want to sell something to some customer, if you are not compliance, then they will not buy from you. Even if you want to give them free, they will not buy. So if it is export, compliance is one of the important area. What we are telling last couple of years, thanks to our industry ministry, thanks to our commerce ministry, they are giving support us, and the plastic industry is a high thrust sector, highest thrust sector. But the problem is when we are going for the implementation is a question mark. What she says, there is a corporate tax. Our corporate tax, our total export is 86% is a ready-made garments is 86%, and the 14% is a others, so like a plastics and leather and jute and others. And the ready-made garments, they are enjoying 12% corporate tax. If it is a green factory, then 10%. But other all are now is this year I think 37.5%. Earlier is 30%. So we always telling them, they are also telling we need to give them we need a diversified plastic, the diversified product. But they are, when they go for the implementation, they forget. So I think we need to work out very closely again. Commerce Ministry or Industry Ministry, they are giving us policy, they are giving us everything. But I think now we need interministerial consultation to adopt all the policy, to implement all the policy. Otherwise, they make the policy maker make the policy, but we don't get the benefit of that. So I think this is one area we need to work. And then about our compliance issue, we are telling we need to relocate the factory, because where all the plastic factories, we see there is a 5,000 factory, all are small. So we have a cluster in Old Town. So all this Old Town factory now is 80% factory, they don't have even trade license. because of the government is not giving trade license. We are fighting with the government. Also there is a environmental license, all these things. So when you go for the export, you need all the license, all these things. So we are fighting with the industry ministry. They are giving us a plastic Shilpo Polli industrial area. So I just heard yesterday Mr. Secretary General of our association, he calling me, the government giving 113 crore taka to DC to acquire the land. So we are happy, but there is already couple of years, minimum 15 years gone. There is another BCC is going for another establishment for chemical fully. So that one is very speedy. Yeah. And we request them to give us 100 acres of land from there. I think they already agreed to give there. So I think if we got all the land and everything, then we need to relocate all the things, because in front of us there is LDC's graduation. It's very important for us, very, very important. And she also mentioned the LDC graduation. After LDC graduation, we have only 5-6 years in front of us. So we need a lot of things. We are working with the Commerce Ministry for the ECJ4, the Common Facility Center. Because of why? We are now producing plastic product. We are copying from we buy the market and we make the mold and we are producing. But after LDC graduation, you cannot do like this. There is a intellectual property right. So this is also in front of us. So that's why we are requested to come up with a common facility center where our small factory who don't have a capability to make the designing, the innovation, all these things. So they are come up with that. I think if it is completed, it will be help for sector. Commerce Ministry is working for this ECJ4. And also the Plastic Association also, we are Plastic Association make the BPET. They are also for skill development. Also we have some area where there is a
designing center and the
testing laboratory will be there, because who are exporting the product, the testing is one of the major issue. Customer is not buying anything, they will test this is a food grade or this is any problem for the human consumption. So this kind of test we are facing every day. And there is a lot of possibility. My company, we are doing export for Japan market and German market. And the German market, so this year, just last week, one of my manager who take the export market, look export market. She says, "Sir, we already regret some order because we don't have the capacity." So that means there is a huge possibility for that. So we need a quality product and the compliance issue. So these two, if we could resolve, I think there is a lot of potentiality. Then we are selling this challenge already I am taking. There is always people are saying plastic is our environmental conflict. So I always see the plastic can help the environment if we can manage the waste management thing. So this is the area we need to work, and I always telling the government to give us the recycling industry, to give them benefit. They already allowed duty free, the corporate long-term
financing.
No, the corporate tax.
Corporate tax benefit. But I think only for not that. Only we need to work together with the collection system. Our biggest problem is a collection. So local government is a part, but we never saw they are inactive. When we have a meeting with the environment ministry, but there is no local government. But local government, we are paying for them. So I think another thing is, I think for recycling industry, we need some incentive for them. Then they can more, and for industry side,
I think in the industry like us or big industry or even a small industry, their industrial wastage is they already 100% consume. They are managing almost 100%. We are working now for green industry. My company is working for the green industry. Maybe within 6 months it will be will receive certification from USGB as a first green industry in Bangladesh, I think, for plastic sector. But for the recycling, there is a huge scope, and for the this kind of PET bottle now is a lot of recycling industry there, and they are making filament, and this filament can go for man-made fabrics, and this is a huge requirements, and also they are making for the zero bag for river protection, all these things. So I think for the recycling industry, for our if we can go for the circular economy, this is a circular economy, and also we are just discussing about the single-use plastic things. So this is also, if we go for the recycling, if our recycling industry is strong, collection system is strong, then there is no problem, because in front of us, America is using 100 kg, we are using only 7 kg, but we are crying. We are crying. We are trying to ban. We are trying to this and that. So I think if you work together for this is the industry, this is a potential the sector where after garments industry, our pharmaceutical, our leather industry, and you see you two are very close about the leather things. Because of the policy, leather is now drying. Our potential industry is now dying, only one CETP. So policy is and implementation is if you have a policy, you need to smartly implementation. So I think and some policy we make emotionally. It's a business world. We need to discuss, because the single-use plastic, I saw the things is already instruction already we got. This is my feeling is a emotional decision. So we should go for the the work together, and we can right decision. We should come up. So I think thanks to Shamim bhai and our lady CEO Bill, she is really she has a lot of contribution on our policy advocacy. Not only plastic sector, she is working for different sectors, especially for SME. What our SME MD says, who is telling for SME. I am also discussing him. Who is telling SME? Our Prime Minister give stimulus package for 200,000 crore taka. Even 30% is not yet distributed, and the 70% distribute. They distribute to whom? We don't know. We have a FBCCI. We have a meeting with all the CEOs very soon, and we want to discuss what is the problem with the SME. Why you are not giving them? What is the real problem? So we need to know, and then we can discuss with the government and policy maker to overcome the situation. So really, the backbone of economy is SME, and lot of reports, and they are saying Bangladesh is a big problem, that problem, but somehow we are overcome. Why? Because of our informal economy, informal sector. So if we can work there, and they can become a formal sector, our tax GDP ratio also automatically increase, and our problem will be solved. So from my I am the president of FBCCI, so my commitment to our business sector, we will work for SME this year really, and we need a help to all the sector to come up with their problem, and we want to work together for future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President FBCCI, for your comments on the compliance issues, policy making, LDC graduation, intellectual property right, testing, and the recycling. For the audience and for the viewers, international viewers, I would like to let you know that Bangladesh is a very good investment destination for all of us. We discussed about our inside and outside, but it is for our own consumption. For the one information that we had one big toys industries in our one APZ, they are doing very well, and plastic sector is coming up. So I request all the foreign investors or those interested to invest in Bangladesh, please come forward. One thing last but not least, that they avoid plastic waste littering, because please remember, plastic waste is a wealth, not is a waste. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone to be with us. Thank you once again. Thank you.